Disaster at the Castle is this weekend, and a few wrestlers are leaving, but this isn't goodbye. This is just see you later. This week on Wrestling with Business.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome back to the world's greatest internet wrestling community commentary show. I am your host, Jeremy the Varsity Athlete Bodette, and this, with me, as always, is Matthew the Professor Lambert. Sorry, I'm a little rusty because we were out last week.
A little hiatus.
Sorry to our fans. We had well-made plans, and then life got in the way. But we are back this week.
Episode 60.
Twice as much excitement, twice as much news. There's a lot going on. A little bit of a denouement last week. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot happening. Before we get into it, please, guys, like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are seeing a tick up in the number of subscribers. Thank you very much. Don't forget to hit that notification bell because the content is going to keep on coming. We're lining up some interviews. Could be very exciting. The gauntlets are going to start back up again. Again, we missed last week. Falls Count Anywhere is back into full swing, not to mention our weekly shows here on Wrestling with the Business. So please be sure to check that out with us. I just got to get right into this because my man Ricochet is back in the news. I'm excited about it. Why don't you catch everybody up, because we've been gone for a couple of weeks. Catch everybody up. What's going on with Ricochet?
So, we're going to have to say goodbye to Ricochet, seemingly, for a little time. He has apparently put in his notice at WWE. He's letting his contract run out in July. He's not renewing as of right now. I mean, all this could change. They could offer him some big money deal and he changes his mind. But as things are looking right now, has been reported by, I think it was PW Insider who broke the news.
Who broke it, yeah.
Yeah, he put in his notice. He's finishing up in July, and he's going to be venturing to greener pastures.
Somewhere? Well, can we just go back quick here because I want to know what happened to Ricochet. This guy was an A-plus talent. I've read a couple of theories online, but I want to know what your thought is out of the box. What the hell happened to Ricochet?
His time in NXT was fantastic. I mean, he came in hot and heavy.
2016?
I think it was more like 2018.
2018?
Yeah. I think he was North American champion. He never got the top title, but he got pulled into the main roster pretty quickly. I think he was only in NXT. It was less than a year, I'm pretty sure.
It wasn't a year.
He was brought up with Malachi Black and a couple other guys really quickly, and I think it was the Vince McMahon curse. He was just too small and didn't get pushed.
Yeah, I think I've read a couple of theories and I've heard a couple of theories online that basically it's just like really bad timing. Like he was too good and too big for NXT, and I mean even physically big. He was too good and too big for the brand that they had at that time in 2018. But he wasn't quite good and big enough. He was off-brand, as it were. There wasn't an X division. The luchadors weren't getting a big push, and so this whole human highlight reel gimmick that they were working for him just really wasn't good. And I think the candle burned for a few years, and then by the time now that Vince McMahon is out and it looks like they're trying to restart something like that,
salvaged.
There's all this young talent that's coming up that can do all the same kind of stuff, or at least is more angled in that way. They're not pushing really big guys like Vince McMahon and he's kind of, compared to a lot of the people working right now, he's a little gimmicky. He's a little, I'm Superman, I'm whatever. I mean, the last really big push he got outside of WWE Speed, which doesn't seem to get any push at all, was his work with the Monster Among Men.
Strowman. Yeah.
They did that weird
tag team
thing, which with a lot of gimmicks, and it was really funny, and it had some good angles.
He had the IC title for a short time, too, I think.
Before that, for a bit. They gave it to him, but they never really gave him a big push, and he just fell into the cracks. And, it's really a shame. I mean, his career isn't over, that's for sure, but, I mean, he's over the hill, I would think, as it were.
Right.
Does AEW scoop him up?
I would assume. I mean, even before this news broke, Will Ospreay was talking about how Ricochet's push in WWE has been abysmal over the last several years. So he's definitely, I'm sure he's pushing for him to come into AEW, and it makes the most sense. And because he's letting his contract expire, he's not being released, so there's going to be no non-compete, so he can show up the next day anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, All In. Supposedly, they say his contract's up sometime in July, so
Yep.
he could be a mystery appearance at All In. They could push, I don't even know who, like the Elite or somebody has a surprise.
Versus Ricochet at All In.
I mean, they need to let him go heel. I feel like they're a little face or tweener heavy in AEW. We need a little more. The Jacksons have helped sort of rebuild the heel factions, but we need more of a heel push, and King Ricochet was just the coolest. I wonder if he'll actually be able to do it. You know, I couldn't help but have this thought. Is it a work? I can't help but think.
Yeah.
Is this
That's what I mean. It could be he could change his mind and be like, "Oh no, I decided to stay because of this reason or this reason," and it could have just been a Triple H swerve the whole time.
I keep reading all these rumors of them being like, "Oh well, you know, we didn't expect it, but now that everybody's talking about Ricochet, maybe we will bring him back in the next month before his contract's up." Because I think the implication was that the initial intention was to just let him go. Yeah, he'll run out the last month of his contract. He's not going to be here for SummerSlam. There really isn't much for him to do. Maybe ship him off to Japan or you know, if they were going to do a European tour or something, just ship him out there to be a mid-carder. But now they're saying they're going to bring him back for some work in between now and whenever his contract ends. And I can't help but wonder that, is he going to disappear? And then
it seemed pretty.
Return?
I mean, this past Monday on Raw, it seemed like they were pretty much writing him off of TV.
Yeah,
putting him through a windshield and everything.
What a nasty way to let a guy like that go, too. I wonder if there wasn't any animosity there. That'd be old Vince McMahon style.
Yeah.
To send him off like that. I don't know.
But what about Samantha? She's in WWE. They're a couple. I think they're engaged, aren't they?
Dude, weren't we just talking about this 2 weeks ago? We were like, think about, I mean, if you look back on the WCW, WWF/E era, you know, no, it was all they didn't go WWE until 2002, right? So the WWF, WCW era, there was no like one partners in one company and the others in the other, and now it's like constant. It's all the time. You got one foot on the platform and the other on the train. So, I mean, and she's not, you know, she's on-air talent, but she's not on-air wrestling talent, as it were. Right. So it's a little bit different. And I don't know, it might be a good thing because this whole like writing her into it where she's just making a nasty
anyone who
face.
faces Ricochet, they always go to her to see her reactions. Yeah.
And then she, you know, she's a great announcer, but she's not a great actress so far, at least. So it's like, it's just not. Hopefully they do take that crutch away because that was not a good angle.
So do you want to see him in AEW or want to see him do something else first?
I don't really know. I mean, he worked the Indies really hard, and he had some really great matches.
Could see him going to Japan. I mean, he was in Lucha Underground back in the day.
Yeah, him going to AEW doesn't ruin any of that opportunity. You know,
that's true.
As long as you can make the schedule work out. So, I mean, I guess I don't see why you couldn't make it work. I think he's too big for TNA. I think he could. I mean, he could bring some eyeballs over. He is a human highlight reel, and he's got a lot of chemistry with a lot of guys inside the AEW locker room that can really make some magic.
We talked about this off air before about the match that really started those guys, got eyes on those guys, Ricochet versus Ospreay in 2017, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about it again watching Dynamite this week. Ospreay has put on a lot of weight.
He's bigger, yeah.
And he's not doing the flippy-do stuff as much as he did back then. So them facing each other will be like a brand new match. Ricochet pretty much does a lot of the same stuff he used to do, but
Ricochet's bigger
really
too.
Changed his game.
If you go back and watch the NXT matches, he's bigger now too.
Yeah, he is, absolutely.
He's not as big.
He still can do 630 though.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you got a lot of guys. I mean, there really is like an no one's really identified it, but there is like a X Division-esque brand in there somewhere. There's too many titles, but maybe they could consolidate a couple of the titles and create something like that, a flyweight title or something like that, under 220 or something, under 210, to kind of, harness that, because there are some really good stories to be told there, I think, and there are some really good rivalries and really good shows, and it really caters well to that particular AEW brand, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think Ricochet is on brand for WWE as it stands today.
No, he was good in NXT, but since he's been on the main roster, yeah.
I want to hear him cut a really good, nasty promo. I want to see him mean.
Yeah.
I don't like his face stuff.
So Ricochet's on the way out of WWE. We got another wrestler who's going to be on his way out from AEW, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. Before that, though, let's talk about some headlines, Jer. Any good news brewing this past week?
We definitely have some exciting news. Actually, this is breaking. In Scotland, I've seen several reports and actually seen some cell phone videos of Drew McIntyre and Billy Corgan hanging out in Scotland.
NWA owner.
Which has got people chirping about some kind of WWE NWA partnership. WWE's really been kind of laying the groundwork in this new Triple H era. Obviously, we've got the partnership with TNA. There's been talk about maybe some talent, more talent in TNA coming back over to WWE besides Jordan Grace, who's already made multiple appearances. So it kind of makes you wonder. Actually, in addition to this, the second piece of news is we have the Japanese pro wrestling promotion Noah is essentially announcing a partnership. It hasn't officially been announced yet, but they basically said, yeah, we have a huge announcement related to the world's largest wrestling promotion. So,
and they're doing something with the new women's promotion too, Marigold. They're exchanging some talent. Io Sky has gone over there for a match.
And apparently they've been working on that contract since like March or something like that. I mean, it's really been a long time. So WWE is really trying to stick its nose in markets where it really hasn't had a significant presence. It's going to Japan for the first time in like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, we've said it before. Triple H has always wanted to expand like that.
Yeah, his vision has been WWE Asia, WWE Europe, WWE
Mexico.
Africa. Yeah, he has really had a vision for a much more decentralized but yet globally sprawling behemoth, which is interesting. I mean, it'd be interesting, too, if you could even create your own particular setup. Obviously, WWE Mexico is going to look a lot different than WWE Europe as far as the style of matches and whatnot. So that could be very cool. So we'll see what it is, but looks very exciting. Did you hear about Sexy Red's airport incident?
Yeah, I saw that the other day. I don't even know who this chick is.
Somebody that was supposed to be hosting Battleground. Actually,
and she did.
She had an agreement to host multiple Battlegrounds, I guess. And yeah, on her, and I think it was a Newark airport before Battleground.
The day of.
The day of.
Morning of or
she was involved in an altercation, and you can find the videos. They're floating around the internet. It's not hard to find. Didn't look very good. But what struck me is I was like a fat dude dropping dead of a heart attack. You're shocked, but you're not surprised. And it got me thinking, like, now it seems like the run-ins with police and these public altercations and things, it's a lot of women. It's a lot of like the women getting involved in this kind of stuff now. I mean, Sexy Red isn't even like signed to the promotion to wrestle, and yet she's getting in these brawls in these airports on the way there.
Is she a wrestler or is she just a rapper or something?
No, she isn't. She's just hosting.
Yeah.
So she's not even like, it's not even like a Logan Paul situation where primarily a celebrity but also is an athlete and wrestle. No, and yet she's, you got the whole Liv Morgan situation with her being arrested, and it just, I don't know, it seems like, I don't know, I'm not going to say they don't have control of their talent or anything like that, but it seems like the talent is kind of getting into trouble more than they used to, both in-house and out-of-house talent. I don't know.
They need a JR to straighten them up.
I mean, it takes more than 2, right? 2 isn't a pattern, but 3 is. So, speaking of Logan Paul got probably one of the biggest interview gets he'll ever get in his entire life. Donald Trump appearing on the Impulsive podcast. As of this recording, it's later tonight, so this will air on Friday, so it will have already come out. So Lord only knows what he says.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the promotional stuff.
I can't imagine what they're going to talk about.
Yeah, I would imagine that they're probably going to talk about the hair versus hair match. I mean, he's going to want to touch on that kind of stuff. I'm wondering, because Trump's obviously running for president, and I'm wondering what Trump's angle is, if he thinks he's going to convince a lot of younger Gen Z, millennial type, that demographic. Maybe he is trying to steal some of that younger demographic from.
It makes sense.
Joe Biden.
As much as we don't like Logan Paul, he's got a big following.
No, but I mean, they're really they are pushing the wrestling angle heavy. I don't know if you've seen any of the promotional work, but it's like him and Trump doing like a really nasty face off and like the USA belt behind them. Like whoever the dude is that co-hosts with Logan Paul is like holding the USA championship behind him. So I have to imagine that wrestling is going to be they might talk politics a little bit, but wrestling is going to be a significant.
Curious if he'll go so far as to ask what he thinks about the whole McMahon situation.
That would be very interesting. Logan Paul does not strike me as a very smart person, which would mean he probably wouldn't ask about like, hey, Vince McMahon's wife Linda was in your administration. Like, I don't really see him doing that. You know what I mean? I see him being, and I'm sure Trump will say,
what do you think of my frog splash?
Yeah. I'm sure Trump will say something like,
yeah, Vince, I always knew he was bad. Everybody knew he was bad. It's just a shame. Just a shame.
It's why I shaved his head.
It's just a shame, It's just a shame.
He'll probably say something like that. I am. If it gets mentioned, I don't think there's going to be much conversation about it. So I don't know. We'll see what that is. The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is getting in deep with Disney, which is obviously entering some controversial waters for him. He recently signed a first look deal. I believe his development company, in addition, signed a first look deal with Disney, which is basically Disney begging him to develop and presumably star in a lot of content, both streaming and film content.
Yeah, I know
Disney.
They're doing an animated sequel to Moana, but I'm pretty sure he wants to do a live action of the movie also.
Yeah, and I think he probably has a lot of ideas. I mean, I think he developed Ballers, which was that reasonably successful show I think he did on HBO.
Who Killed WCW? That show is through his production company.
Yeah, man, we'll get into this later, but I'm like, why are you here?
Yeah. Yeah.
just putting his name on it so he can get on the screen again or something.
Hey, there's DDP, there's Bret Hart, there's Goldberg. Yeah. Wait, what's The Rock doing
It's
there?
like and why is The Rock commenting on like what it was like in 1991? Like you were like in high school then. Like, anyways. So I mean, huge for him. But my initial first thought was, brother, you're gonna be busy. I mean, if you and your production company and you're expected to star in some of this content are going to be working Disney and providing them with ideas, and you've got this kind of contract with them, and Disney's obviously hurting for good content, and they think The Rock's a sure thing. So I have to imagine they spent a really pretty penny on it, but. I wonder how much wrestling he's going to be doing. I wonder how involved he's actually going to be in the business, or if this was just some kind of a shot of adrenaline. I wouldn't be surprised if we only saw him maybe once a year, like in the lead up to WrestleMania.
He'll do the Undertaker thing and just be there for WrestleMania. That's it.
Yeah, that might be it.
Which
I guess
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many storylines I want him heavily involved in.
Right.
RD
else makes sense besides the bloodline.
True. R.D. Evans has now bounced. That guy's like a freaking ping pong ball. He's constantly bouncing back and forth from one promotion to the next. But as of June 8th, he has settled in AEW.
Remind me who this is?
He's a Canadian wrestler. I think he's out of Winnipeg. So he's one of the Western guys. And he has been, he was Ring of Honor. He was Robert Evans. He wrestled under Robert Evans for a while, too. He's Ring of Honor. He was TNA. He was... WWE, and I think he just spent a long stint in WWE behind the scenes primarily, and I think he's set to go behind. He's been behind the scenes. I think he was at the Collision taping and the Dynamite taping this week. So,
you know who else I saw on Dynamite this week that I didn't know worked there? Glacier. He works behind the scenes too.
Man, it's such a small world.
He was one of the guys in the pull apart between Roosh and MJF.
I was going to say I wouldn't know him if I passed him on the street probably these days. You actually recognized him.
Oh, yeah.
Though. How did he look?
Absolutely. Not too bad, actually.
I didn't even notice.
Definitely looks older, but
I have to find the clip. Glacier. It's a name I haven't heard in a long time. And last but certainly not least, AEW Blood and Guts, which is one of the Dynamite specials, is finally announced July 24th in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. I have to say, I saw that. I saw the promo pop up on Twitter, and I got a little excited.
Yeah?
There was a sense in me that was like, finally, we're going to see some blood and guts, because we really haven't seen the
It's been
blood
a
and
while.
guts that I've kind of come to expect. And it got me a little excited. Like, what the hell's Darby Allin going to do next? Like, he's going to have to one up himself.
is he going to be in it, though? He might be out injured.
I don't know that would stop him from being in it, but we'll get into that Dax Harwood conversation soon. But
yeah, it's going to be the Elite versus Swerve and the Acclaimed, but a few guys are missing there, so...
there's going to be other people that are
Oh, yeah,
involved.
of course.
I mean, you have to
There
have
has
that.
to be, but
Yeah.
I'm just wondering who it's going to be at this point.
I mean, it would be nice to actually see some real blood and guts outside of Darby Allin, basically. You know,
Sammy Guevara, he's been in a few of them. I think, actually, I was trying to think. I think Jericho and Guevara have been in several of them.
yeah, I
And
forgot
the,
about Guevara
Blackpool
going off
Combat Club.
the top of the cage there. I forgot
Jericho
about
did that one
Yeah.
time, went through the stage, and everyone booed it because it looked like shit.
Well,
There was a mattress there.
yeah, so I'm a little excited for it. Yeah, we'll see how this fits in. I don't know how careful they're going to be with the talent, too, because All In, obviously, not too far away from that either, so you can't get too wild. But I already mentioned him once. Let's get to our next mid-card match. Something's going on. Something stinks in the state of FTR.
One person we know is not going to be in Blood and Guts is Dax Harwood, who is announced this week that he's going to be out indefinitely due to... You got in here, die to a lower back. He's not dying. He's got a lower back hematoma.
You don't know that, Matt. You don't know that.
When was Dynasty? April?
Early.
I think so, yeah. So he got injured at Dynasty, and he's been working all along up until last week with a giant sore on his back. So
he said the pain has been incredible. So follow us on Twitter, because on Twitter I shared the video that he put up. Did you see the video that he put up?
no,
That's because you're not following me on Twitter.
you're right.
You need to follow us on Twitter.
Gotta
Don't be
get-
like
I
Matt.
got to get Twitter.
Don't be like Matt. Get Twitter. Follow Wrestle with Biz.
It might help if Twitter still existed.
He posted about a
X.
three
X.
to a 5 minute video, and he I got to give him a little bit of credit here. He opened with an apology. He was like, "I want to apologize to everyone in the company, to the training staff, to the doctors,
Because he never told anyone he was hurt.
because he got hurt and he felt like after Dynasty he was, FTR was getting a good push, and he didn't want to take a break." And I can't remember. Was Cash Wheeler off the hook for his gun charge at that point? It was right around that time. Maybe it
Yeah,
was right
something like that.
afterwards. But he felt like they were getting a good push, and he said he had a hematoma on his lower back, and the pain was just excruciating. I saw a couple pictures. It's pretty nasty hematoma, and he kept it to himself, and he didn't tell anybody. And I just can't help but wonder. Obviously, Tony Khan has talked extensively about how this is the safest company to work in and all that stuff. And
yeah, that was going to be my next question. There have been so many injuries in the past year or so. And it's good that he took responsibility for it and said, that he didn't say anything about it, but that brings up the question, is it really a safe company?
He said in the video that hematoma swelled up to at least the size of a football. A football. And I'm like, okay, let's even say he's exaggerating. Let's say it's half the size of a football.
That's
How do you get past medical check? Like, you get the medical. So, okay, so he comes off a Dynasty. So his story is, I toughed it through. It happened in the match. I toughed it through, obviously adrenaline and whatnot. I go straight to the back. I put ice on it. And I'm icing it in the hematoma, swelling and swelling and swelling. Well, the doctor has to clear you before you leave the facility.
That's true.
Presumably. So, presumably the doctor went, wow, Dax, that's a big freaking hematoma. We need to keep an eye on that. Let me know how you're doing. And then there was no follow-up or anything. And then Dax continued to wrestle multiple times after that point. And no doctor,
wrestled and then was in an Anarchy in the Arena match.
Even if you didn't know that you're injured, even if you didn't know, how do you not give the guy a once-over? How do you not be like, all right, strip down to your skivvies, turn around in a circle, let me check your basic vitals. Like, how is there not just the most basic check to ensure, let me check your reflexes, just like the stuff that you do in the first 5 minutes of being at your annual physical. I don't understand. So it really made me kind of question, FTRs, they're at basically the top of the mountain, certainly the top of the tag team division. They've held the belts multiple times now. They've been at all the big shows. They're great personalities. They're big sells. And yet they're able to wrestle for months with major physically visible injuries on themselves. It's like something's not right. There's something wrong inside the system.
Yeah.
Inside the medical system of AEW. If a guy can have a hematoma the size of a football on his lower back, and yet he's able to continue wrestling for months without anybody saying anything. To me, that's just crazy. So I give him a lot of credit for apologizing. It takes a big man to do that, but it takes an even bigger man to be like, hey, I'm injured and I'm not doing well. I mean, a hematoma the size of a football, dude, don't lie. You fucking knew that was not some little stupid thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like some bruise that turned into a stroke or something. This was like real deal, huge bruise, So either he got out of that arena without anyone seeing it, and he was able to hide it up to that point. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. Or the doctor saw it and they didn't do any follow-up. That's a problem. Or the doctor saw it and then continued to see it, and that's a problem. There's really no... I can't think of any possible explanation. If I was Tony Khan, I'd be like, we need to revamp this policy because it is not working at all.
Yeah.
Either we're not following it or it doesn't work. So...
Well, hopefully he recovers soon. They said that, I think he said Cash Wheeler will stay out too. He's not going to stay and do like a singles run. He's going to, so both FTR will be out while he's out healing. So.
That would be a waste of time, to have FTR.
Yeah. So hopefully he recovers soon recovers, period, I should say.
Yeah, indefinitely just means they don't have a date.
Right.
I mean, unless there's some kind of... Unless he isn't really sharing what's going on, I have a hard time believing.
And working with it for so long, who knows what other damage could have happened in the process.
Maybe it's partially healed too, and he's already well on the road to recovery. I mean, it's a bad bruise. I don't know. I'm just glad he didn't hurt anybody else.
Yeah.
Or himself. Even worse, so...
All right, so let's get on to the other mid-card match here. We mentioned it earlier. Who Killed WCW, the new show on Vice... about the last days of WCW.
It's really about the whole thing.
It really is, yeah. But, I mean, that's the premise anyways. And we mentioned it before in previous shows that it wasn't going to be WWE produced, but at the time I forgot it was being produced by The Rock's company, who technically is WWE now. So they have footage from the shows. It's not just home video type recordings. But what'd you think of the first episode?
I thought it was good. It was funny as I'm watching it. I'm like, I think we got about 20 or 30 minutes into it, and I was like, this is moving fast. They're
jumping around.
They're skimming over a lot of stuff. And then I looked and I was like, oh, it's a 4-part series.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, now I understand why we're not deeply examining, Ted Turner's response to XYZ.
Yeah, they're jumping around. And
if they did have the guy, what's his name, that wrote Nitro, he's one of the guys that's getting consistently interviewed. I can't think of his name. Sorry, I can't remember his name, but he did a hell of a job with that book. He's very knowledgeable. He's on the show. Who else? Conan, who I
Conan, yep.
think one of the most
DDP.
underrated guys, Conan.
Booker T, Kevin Nash, and fucking Bret Hart.
Yeah, who didn't appear too much in the first episode.
Oh, but when he did,
yeah, he's gonna
F
be
them all.
He's gonna be a joy going forward.
And then randomly The Rock,
and then The Rock pops up,
who
and
was
it's
never
like,
in WCW.
yeah, why are you here? Eric Bischoff.
Yep.
Let's not forget.
Bischoff, that's
We
right.
know that I've seen some clips. We know Vince Russo is going to be into it. There was a lot of finger pointing at the beginning. It really lended credence to the thought. Like some people were like, "Oh, it's look at the people that were in control at Turner Broadcasting. It's their fault." Some people were like, "Well, it's Eric Bischoff."
And they talked to one of the higher ups of Turner also. I forget his name too, but he
the
was
president,
saying,
the dude that
he
was
was
the
saying
president.
he hated wrestling. He didn't want it on their channels.
Yep.
Blah blah blah.
Oh, Kevin Sullivan. How could we forget
yeah.
Kevin Sullivan?
Yep.
He was on there too. So I guess they're really touching off on basically all the people that can really reasonably all the people that could really speak to what's going on relatively openly and with some relative honesty without too many, should I say, conflicts of interest associated with it. I think it was good. I guess we kind of covered like the beginning, even pre the beginning, like Georgia Championship Wrestling, going all the way up to basically the birth of NWO, I guess you could call it. So what's that, like 88 to 96 basically. You know what? They went to Starrcade 97 with the Sting thing. So they basically went to end of 97. I thought it was good. It's a lot of the same stuff, like if you've read the books and you know the story, but it was pretty contrite. It was interesting to hear from their mouths, kind of a lot of the stuff that we'd already heard before. But I think it was interesting. A lot of it was previously tread ground, but it was well produced, well executed, well written, entertaining. Episode 1 drew 138,000 in viewership.
That's pretty good for Vice.
Episode 2, which just came out last week, dropped down to about 117. Not totally unexpected. I read some ignominious stat that it was like 198th in its category for the night or something. Which is just not, terrible. It was like, very like a mid-level YouTube video, type numbers. But we all know Vice is circling the drain. But on the way down, it is nice to see it putting out some cool wrestling-related content.
Yeah, if that channel does die, I hope some of these shows get picked up somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a really great concept, and I think it's well done. Again, this is ground that's well trodden, so it's kind of difficult to make it look fresh and new. And I think they're putting their best foot forward. I don't have all the details as far as like who's directing, who's producing, and what their thoughts are, but they seem to have a passion and an appreciation for the sport and for the event, and it's producing a really good product. So check it out. I think the first episode is on YouTube. So you can watch it for free there, or if you've got Hulu or a cable subscription or whatever, you can watch it there. So definitely check it out, and we'll keep watching the rest of the episodes and see what we think. But
so far I like it.
Yeah, pretty good so far.
All right, main event time. Tell me, are you looking forward to Clash at Castle Scotland?
Oh my gosh, this is the third crappy premium live event in 6 weeks. I don't know. I don't know if I can bring myself to sit through this one, dude. You're gonna have to sell me on this one, because
I don't know if I can, man. It's not looking great.
I am really, really not excited. I mean, I think
5 matches, which they've been doing for a while now.
I think we knew that this was going to be Scotland Stroke Fest for obvious reasons.
Yeah, of the 5 matches, 4 of them have a Scottish superstar in the match, and I honestly don't see any of them winning.
I'm sorry. Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable.
I said of the 5, 4 of them. That's the only one that doesn't have one in it.
Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles.
Oh, shit. Forgot about that one. See, I don't even know what the card is.
And listen, AJ does a hell of a job hiding his accent, if that's the case. He's been doing a North Carolina accent this entire time. Yeah, it's 3 of the 5.
3 of the 5.
Because you got Alba Fire and
whatever.
Dawn and McIntyre and Piper Niven. I don't know. Let's just run through the card quickly and give our thoughts. I think this is
World Heavyweight Championship. Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre.
People are saying Drew's going to take the belt off of Damian. This is the one that I think a lot of people are bouncing back and forth on.
If any of them are going to change, I think that's going to be the one that does change. Just because Priest hasn't done anything with it.
Poor Damian. Well, they're writing him right into irrelevancy.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Let me okay. What's the big storyline going on with Judgment Day right now?
Liv Morgan.
Oh my gosh, someone who's not even in Judgment Day. Meanwhile, you got the world champion that dethroned McIntyre, who had dethroned Seth Rollins. Like, the championship had just gone through some really cool drama. Damian Priest is a great wrestler. He has performed in many outstanding matches. He's got a great character. Like, he seems like the kind of guy that really should have the championship. Man, I don't know. Like, the belt's not on the line here, but let's just make casual predictions here. I see this belt changing hands.
Yeah, I agree. I think
you kind of have to.
I think Drew wins it.
You kind of have to. He has to win it at home. He's been denied a bunch of times now. The real question is, does he win it despite CM Punk interference? Because they've been doing that whole CM Punk angle, which has gotten some good attention with the T-shirts and stuff. I mean, there's...
Yeah, man, I don't know.
There's been some funny angles there.
I could, you know what I could see happening is Drew mirroring. Did we report that he did sign a contract now? That was last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, he's on contract.
I was going to say I could see him mirroring the CM Punk thing where he wins the belt and then walks away through the crowd, blows a kiss, and like he's leaving with the belt.
No, I don't see that happening. The good old days of Medusa. Speaking of WCW references.
No, that was a CM Punk reference. What are you talking about?
I think this one has to change hands, honestly. Otherwise, this is the worst pay-per-view. Regardless, if it works out the way that it, quote-unquote, should work out, this is the worst pay-per-view of the year, bar none. I don't think it gets any worse than this.
Undisputed WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles in an I Quit match. I mean, I don't see Cody losing.
I want to see AJ Styles come out and, like, duct tape his mouth shut. I want to see him, like, wrap duct tape around his mouth, like, 50 times. And then in the end, he, like, signs. He, like, uses sign language to say I quit or something like that. There's nothing that could possibly make this, very interesting.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing that can make that interesting, so...
Okay, one of the 3 matches that has a Scottish superstar in it, the WWE Women's Championship, Bayley versus Piper Niven. Again, Bayley really hasn't done much with the title, but I don't really see Piper Niven, as much as I love Piper Niven. I mean, not so much since she's been in the main roster, but she was one of my favorites on the Indies and in NXT UK. I would love to see her with a title, but I don't think this is it.
But again, why would anyone even believe that she's going to dethrone her?
Right.
Like, how do you sell that? I just don't understand,
Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. Gable's contract is coming up soon. Him winning the title, is that a way to keep him there?
This is so tired. This is so tired. This is like the 3rd time we've had this match. We haven't done anything to up the ante. There's no interesting angle. I mean, the most interesting thing that's happened is Chad Gable has turned heel while somehow keeping Alpha Academy without them, like, really turning. Like, they haven't really turned.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to turn. I think Otis is going to stay a babyface. The story is he's going to turn on Chad Gable, finally break out from under him. That's the story.
And
whether
just
it happens
sit
this
on
week,
him and not let him get up.
whether it happens at this show or not is whatever. But I say Sammy's keeping it. And then the women's tag titles, triple threat. Bianca and Jade versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. So we do have to mention one thing here. This past week, Alba Fire had her mother visiting her down in Florida, and her mother was hit by a car and killed at the scene. So definitely send our condolences to Alba and her family.
Very unfortunate. Say a prayer if that's your thing.
She's apparently still going back to Scotland for this match, though, which obviously, I mean, I would assume is going to be a whole dedication to her mom and whatnot. Is that Do you think they're going to call an audible and give them the titles, or I can't imagine they're taking the pin.
They shouldn't. They should give her the highest spot in the match.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what do you do in this situation? I mean,
they've been champs before too.
No. What I mean is, what do you do in this situation from a commentary standpoint? Like,
are they face or heel? Dawn and Fire.
It's
it just changes depending on who they're
they
facing.
They were like the last time I remember them being relevant. Like when they held the titles, I think they were working a heel angle.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't really seen them be relevant in so long that I don't even really know. I guess they would be heels because Belair and Cargill are faces, and Baszler and Stark are heels. So
that's what I was thinking of. Fire and Dawn are both Scottish. That's why I was thinking 4. Not
yeah,
3.
they came out of. Did they come out of NXT UK?
Yes.
Or are they? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep. They weren't a tag team in UK, but
right.
Yeah.
So like, what do you do? Because we do live in an age where information travels at the speed of light. Pretty much everybody's gonna know that this happened. So.
And their hometown anyway, so they're gonna be cheered no matter what.
Do you acknowledge it from a commentary standpoint? And just be like, yeah, like her mom just died. It's such a tragedy. She's dedicating this match to her mom. Does that sort of dip in, like, would I want that if I was her? Like, would I want to be like, yeah, talk about my dead mom a few days after
I think they
happened?
have to mention it. If not, I wouldn't necessarily spend a lot of time on it, but they have to mention it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really tough situation. I mean, if they push it multiple times during the match, they're going to win the titles.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Michael Cole keeps coming back to it.
And again, no matter what they are on TV, all of the Scottish talent are going to be getting cheered because it's their hometown. So
yeah, I don't know, man. This is shaping up to be a really bad. This is going to be destruction.
Did we make
of the
a prediction
casual.
for that one? Are they keeping the belts?
I think they're going to keep the belts.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't see. And I don't see Chad Gable winning the belts either. I mean, this really is, like I said, outside of Drew McIntyre winning the championship. He has to. This was like I predicted last time. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill have to win the belts in Saudi Arabia because if they don't, this is the most boring, irrelevant, stupid PLE to ever exist, you know? So it'll be very bad. One quick addendum. I know we're done with our main event here, but hot off the press, I just got a review from one of our behind-the-scenes people, Lily. She watched the Trump-Logan Paul interview, which literally just dropped, and I've got her notes here.
Okay.
They did not mention wrestling once.
Really?
In the entirety of the interview.
Oh, my gosh.
No mention. And just very quickly, I'm going to read you Lily's notes here. I literally have just skimmed them. I haven't even this is really the first time I'm reading them. So we have discussions about Logan and Jake. Are they close? Should they fight each other? Talking about the Floyd fight that happened. Trump gave Logan some shirts with his mugshot on them from this last time he was arrested. Logan kind of sucking up to Trump a little bit, calling him a martyr. Prime is everywhere, just a big push for Prime energy. Mm-hmm. Then a little bit of politics, talking about Trump's perspective on the border, inflation, how Biden's a terrible president.
Biden, yeah, okay.
They're kind of bouncing all over the place. I think it's pretty clear that, at least according to Lily, that the host didn't write the questions that they're working from.
Mm-hmm.
Trump said that trading money for the basketballer that didn't stand up for the national anthem, she thought it was a good time to tie her shoes, was not a good trade. They're talking about the WNBA star that was arrested in Russia.
Yep. Brittany Griner.
Brittany Griner, yes. Good memory. Wow, I'm impressed you remembered that. So, yeah, apparently Logan didn't look like he was taking the interview too terribly seriously the entire time. Like a lot of laughing, but not really at appropriate times and stuff like that. And then just Logan talking about how he's, really blessed and he's a representation of the American dream. And just Trump got back into politics talking about the best way to live the American dream is to vote for him and all that kind of stuff. So, they got an AI very a little bit. That's a Trump way to say that. They got an AI a little bit, and Trump talked about how he liked Elon Musk and stuff. But yeah, that was basically it. A pretty superficial, non-interesting /
Wow.
I guess political promotional stunt.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know how you have the current United States champion that's all about the business apparently have a Hall of Famer.
That sounds like, what, a 15-minute interview?
Yeah, I don't know. My guess is it went a little longer than that, maybe 30 minutes. Trump has done a couple interviews on the internet, and I think it's gone like 20 minutes or over on each of them, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was in studio with him. He didn't even do it remotely, so he was there with him. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of not nearly as wrestling related, and they didn't touch on Vince at all either, which was also very interesting. I wonder if there was some.
Yeah, can't talk about this, can't talk about that.
Not from Trump's side,
No,
right?
from
Trump
Paul's side, yeah.
I'm sure
From
that
WWE side.
tapped him on the shoulder and went, "Guess who doesn't exist anymore?" So there's no reason for you to talk about him. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. Breaking news.
So
And
that's our brief review. Thank you to Lily for
our fans won't see it until tomorrow, but hey, breaking for us.
for handing that up. Well, listen, hey, if you're not a big Trump fan, if you're not a big Logan Paul fan, we just saved you 30 plus minutes of
There you go.
nails on a chalkboard. So be thankful. Lily did it so that you didn't have to, and we didn't have to as well. I'd say that wraps it up for us this
That's
week.
We're done.
I have no idea. I don't even know. Can I even think ahead? What's after Money in the Bank? Money in the Bank comes up after this. So something a little bit more interesting.
Yep.
Probably something a little
Got
bit more.
Forbidden Door at the end of the month
And
for
then
AEW.
that one we got to put the belt on the line for because
Yes.
there's some good matches coming up on that one. And we know
Absolutely.
the card's going to be about as long as our arm. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Guys, comment down below. Let us know. Do you think that the belt is going to change hands? Is Damian Priest going to still be the champion at the end of this? Or is it going to get handed off to Drew McIntyre? Is CM Punk going to be involved? There are a couple of interesting
Or
questions.
let us know, do you think Donald Trump is going to win the U.S. title from Logan Paul? Because that's in the works right
Maybe
now.
they
Come
do
on.
it. It would be funny if they set up something where like Logan Paul loses it on a bet or something like that.
Or Trump's got to shave Paul's head.
Again, way too controversial. Like, I'm pretty sure that all the higher-ups at WWE are Republican, but they do not want to touch politics at all. They know that Democrats buy wrestling tickets, too.
Yep.
So that's the way that it is. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We will catch you next week. Keep watching, and we'll keep wrestling with the business.